11 minutes past 8, and what a week it's been for Heather Mills since she last appeared on this sofa just over a week ago now. The repercussions of that interview are still being felt around the world and in Heather's house, no doubt. And just as you predicted, Heather, the British tabloids went mad. They haven't stopped. You've been on the front page every other day, actually. Every day. What am I talking about? There
actually,
you are.
It's nowhere near as much as it was in the height of it, and it proves exactly what I said, because you had it live what I said. I didn't compare myself to the McCanns.
No, you
and then they wrote that I did.
Yeah.
And so all they're doing is giving us more ammunition to use in the case, and so much support. It's been amazing.
Well, we've had a lot of support in here this morning. All the emails have turned around, and in fact, the day after you did that interview, there were some negative emails on the day you did the interview, and then the following morning it completely turned around, and 70% of the reaction we got was supporting
because they
you.
saw that they wrote lies again the next
and that's
day.
what they were getting angry about.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a look at your past week. It's interesting stuff. Here we go.
We've had death threats. I've been close to suicide.
It's the most talked about TV interview of the year, and it happened right here on the sofa.
I've had worse press than a paedophile or a murderer, and I've done nothing but charity for 20 years.
That was last Wednesday, and as soon as Heather Mills launched her battle with the tabloids, her PR man quit on the spot.
They will go for me tomorrow, and they'll go, she's crazy and she's this and she's that. Go for it, because I will do even more.
The very next day came that backlash. The papers she'd attacked hit back.
Like a red rag to a red top.
And we reported live from Heather's hometown of Brighton.
The big talker tonight is Heather Mills.
So Heather upped the ante again, blitzing the American TV networks, this time lashing out at Sir Paul McCartney.
I have pleaded, I have begged. He knows that I was at a suicide point, and still nothing has been done.
And in this week's Hello magazine, she accuses the multimillionaire of being mean with his money. Then on Tuesday this week, another blow from the tabloids, another woman in Macca's life. Beach strolls and kisses for Sir Paul, the papers cast Heather in the role of the angry ex. Here's the front page of yesterday's Mirror. What the hell are you up to? Yells Heather. 8 days of tit for tat, but has taking on the tabloids taken its toll?
Has it? How has the past week been?
No, it's been unbelievably cathartic. It's like, it's a difference between being in prison or being on parole. You know, that's the situation at the moment. 18 months of the worst press ever. And I got the chance, you know, to protect myself and defend myself and my daughter. And it proved yet again that they wrote loads of lies. In that situation, you know, with Paul, there was no phone call, there were no tears and tantrums, there was nothing.
About Nancy Chevelle?
Yeah, you know, basically I just said, I wish you all the best, and that was it when we did swap over. It's none of anybody's business what happens in Paul's love life.
Yeah, and according to the papers, he met Nancy after spending a bad-tempered divorce summit day with you. Is that true?
No. I mean, it's all, you know...
Has he reacted to your appearances on...
No, not a word. Hasn't said a word. Not a word at all. It's just very civil for our daughter, and, you know, the main thing is that it's a perfect example of another load of lies, as if I'd have the Sun newspaper on my table for my daughter to see, you know, the one paper that is the worst of all. Well, it's just complete rubbish, you know, but the support, Fiona, has been unbelievable. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of people go on to UK.com. I'll hold it up because I think it's my Geordie accent.
It's your accent.
I was saying UK.com, and people were thinking I was saying UK.
And it's UK,
C-A-R-E.
Yeah.
But really amazing stories and leads. We've got a gentleman in Newcastle that he was contacted a year ago. He's approached by what he calls a slime ball of a Sun reporter, but in his words. And they told him that I was in the Gallery Shopping Centre and offered him money to make up a story about me on the spot. And he was so offended by it. He said, absolutely no way. But he knows somebody that did, and that story ended up in the newspapers. So it's becoming a criminal situation. So we can't go into detail with his name, but I have all the information, and a statement was took from him last night.
All right, but there are people, you see, who will say, if you want the press off your back, then just be quiet, go away.
We talked about that last week, didn't we, Fiona? I was quiet for a year. I didn't say a word, but I had 4,000 articles written about me. All I did was go to a supermarket or try and play in the park with my daughter and remain absolutely silent. silent. So we talked about that, and it didn't work. And all that happened was, it's like being an abused woman at home, you know, and you're not allowed to tell the family because it might upset grandma such and such, but you're constantly being abused, and you're not allowed to say anything about it. So I knew the papers would go to town on me. Of course they would. I was saying, you know, just boycott, you know, the Sun in particularly for the lies, and don't be duped anymore. And the whole point of this is that I have the platform to speak out on behalf of thousands of people.
Well,
you know, a mother lost her daughter in a car crash. Her son was driving. It was a complete accident. The press wrote, brother kills sister. It was proven it was an accident, and they had pages of headlines. She got a tiny apology, set up a fund. They ruined the fund, saying she was using it for her personal use. The whole community turned against her. She was totally devastated, and she gets this tiny apology. You know, I've got loads and loads of stories that people have sent in. Someone that was accused of killing someone, he was completely cleared. The community still blame him for it. Lies and lies and lies.
All right, well, a lot of people phoned in sympathy with you last Thursday because the papers said that you compared yourself to Kate McCann, which in fact we know you didn't. And we actually had an email from Madeleine McCann's grandmother, Susan Healy, praising you for standing up and saying thank you for supporting Kate and Jerry. And she says Kate and Jerry are the most dedicated.
I can't imagine what they're going through, and that's really, really kind of her, and I never would compare myself in that situation. Nobody can ever imagine what they're going through, and one day when they can have the freedom to tell their story, then I'm sure that will be very cathartic and healing for them as well.
What does this all mean for you personally, though, Heather? Is it not going to make your dealings with Paul a bit more difficult if you do keep speaking out?
Well, I'm not speaking about Paul anymore. I just responded to questions that were put to me that were complete lies. I am very much protecting Paul with everything that I have, you know, but I had to protect myself, and when my daughter grows up, she's not going to read a one-sided story and say, Mum, why didn't you try and protect yourself?
People will be sitting at home saying, how can you say you're protecting him when, by coming and talking about him, as you did last week particularly, it seems that you're doing the exact opposite. You're kind of showing him and showing other people that the relationship wasn't just one-sided that we've been led to believe.
Yeah, but now it's balanced, you know. No, I'm not asking people to come on my side. I was abused, and you have no idea what that was like for 18 months. The media were fed by a particular party, and I've said I'm not having this anymore. Now that party is backing right off, and there is some calm and peace in our lives.
Okay.
But
has he tried to gag you, as the press is saying?
I can't go into whether he's tried to gag me. The reason we are not divorced is because I basically am not meant to talk. But again, we're going into the whole Paul thing, and the whole thing is about the campaign, about all these people that don't have a voice, they don't have a right to reply. We have thousands and thousands of people that have signed the petition. I just want to thank everybody for the amazing support. I had a little girl come on the train. They said, Heather flies off to America. I never flew to America. I did a few satellite interviews to clear things up, and then I took my daughter to Disneyland in Paris.
And you had a standing ovation on the train,
didn't you? It was amazing. I was like, I can't believe it. There's so many. It's heartwarming to feel and see that there are so many like-minded people who want to be told the truth, who don't want dishonest journalism. A little girl came up to me and said, you made me cry last week, and I felt really bad. I said, I didn't want to make you cry. And she said, I hate those bullying newspapers. I'm never going to buy a newspaper. So it's this presumption that the public want to read this. Try writing some positive, good stories, or stories that are going to help change the world, and get back to proper journalism, because there are very few real journalists left.
All right, Heather, we have to leave it there because we've got other items to fit in, haven't we, frankly. But nice to see you again.
Thank you so much.
You seem really calm, actually. You seem really
I'm so
chill.
happy, because you can't imagine 18 months of abuse. And I got, you know, to say and create a campaign to change the European law. And the support's been immense.
They are still lying about you, though.
But the more they do that, the more evidence I have to show, because there are live shows like this where the truth is being said. They write the complete opposite tomorrow. So they're just giving us more ammunition to use against them.
All right. Well, listen, have a good day, whatever you're doing.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again. We always tell the truth on this show, don't we?
We do our best.
Yeah. Oh, right. Well, have you got anything
She's
you'd like
diplomatic.
to
Talk about that. I still haven't heard about this degree you've got, and that's worrying me slightly.
No. It was the university... Oh, no. Well, the producer's
See.
shouting at me again.
It's always your fault.
He just wants you to think that we're uneducated on this programme.
You can see all of that full Heather interview, which dominated the headlines last week, on the website. If you'd like to watch it again, gm.tv.
Most popular interview we've ever had on there. Right, 10 minutes past 8 and Heather Mills is in the studio at her own request because you've had enough, haven't you, really?
I've had enough. I've so had enough. I've had 18 months of absolute abuse, and then they tried to ruin my daughter's birthday party, which I spent ages organising, saying I'd killed the dog next door, which
this
was
was
a
in
complete load of
yesterday's
rubbish.
Sun, wasn't it?
Complete load of rubbish. I ended up being in contact with the lady. She'd said to get something out of the Sun, that the dog had had a heart attack. I traced back to the vet, Tim, and he said, what a lot of rubbish. The dog had been ill for a while and died of abdominal catastrophe on Sunday night, 24 hours after the party, because a friend of mine put some fireworks on as a surprise for my daughter, which all the village knew about and came to. And it's just like everything they write is complete rubbish.
And this was a £10,000 worth of fireworks.
Can you imagine what a
No, I
lovely
can't
friend
imagine
I have.
what that would be like,
what a
actually.
lovely friend. You've got to be joking.
And according to today's papers, it's only little snippets, so don't get too worked up about this, but you spent over £100,000 on Beatrice's 4th birthday.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Right.
Everyone came. They said I banned cameras. Everyone had their cameras. I banned mobile phones. I just have friends that don't sell their pictures to newspapers. That woman that did the story on the dog, if she's so upset, what's she standing there posing for the Sun for? The day her dogs died. You know, what I just want to do, because we're short of time, is clear up a few things. For 6 years, when I lost my leg, I was the model that overcame adversity, inspired other amputees to get on with their life. Front page of all the newspapers, you know, The Sun, Model of Courage. They serialised my book. I told my whole life story in my book. It all went to charity. The Sun had it there, out on a limb. And I talked about my glamour modelling when I was a teenager. You know, pictures of me, out, you know, like, I wanted to be the Marie Whittaker, the Linda Lusardi, the Samantha Fox. That was the thing to be in the 80s. I was a teenager. Then they eliminate now my whole 20 years of my life of campaigning and put in things like hardcore porn queen, you know, and all this disgusting stuff from my topless things. And then the poor guy who did this book called Joy for Sex basically gets this much of apology because they call his book a hardcore porn thing. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Paul knew about my glamour modelling. It was in the papers every week for the 3 years that we were engaged, and they try and say they broke up because she was a glamour model. It is such lies. It's never ended.
So what are you going to do?
I am going to basically, just like I changed the law with some like-minded people, anyone that wants to help, go to uk.com, youk.com, and you'll see how you can help and sign the petition. I need to get everybody to petition that they don't want to be lied to anymore by the press. They want their children to grow up in a society where press is just and fair, and the size of the lie that they print is the size of the apology they have to print. And they have to reveal their made-up sources and their so-called friends unless it's a criminal situation. Because they make up such lies, you know. They've called me a whore, a gold digger, a fantasist, a liar, the most unbelievably hurtful things, and I've stayed quiet for my daughter. But my daughter, we've had death threats. I've been close to suicide. So upset about this.
I know you're...
I've had worse press than a paedophile or a murderer, and I've done nothing but charity for 20 years.
Well, I actually remember you when I first started here.
I came on here talking about vegetarianism 15 years ago. I sat here and Dr. Hilary Jones said, she's crazy, she's talking about wheatgrass and giving up meat and dairy. And then they want to write that I just suddenly make up vegetarianism.
To please Paul and
to
his
please
family.
Paul. You've got footage, find it, show it. You know, it's just everyone has jumped on the bandwagon. That, my sister was crying her eyes out because that awful Jordan and Peter Andre did a joke on Sunday, and I've had 6 amputee girls crying their eyes out because they're getting bullied at school because people are joking about the loss of my limb. Jonathan Ross
Oh, I remember that one.
says she's such an effing liar. We're going to find out she's got 2 legs instead of 1. I have protected my husband. I know everything and I know the truth. I even got an apology from, because the judge pushed for it, when they said that my petition was a lie. And the size of the apology we're sorry. We now accept that the judge did not throw out any of her claims. She was not portrayed as a liar in court and did not erupt with rage.
All right.
You
but listen, because there will be people at home
lies.
saying
so
that at the beginning, Heather, you did use the press so that, you know,
I
if you're going to take...
the press for anything except my charity. When did I promote a record? When did I act for anything? You know, they'll always say, publicity seeker. Look at me going to court. My pelvis is bust. You've seen the X-ray, right?
Which you had to produce because someone else said you were lying about that.
Because they put in here, Heather's pulls her leg off and, you know...
That's
talks
when you were
about
Dancing
pelvis.
with the Stars, yeah?
My pelvis has been broken for a while, but I have months where I can walk and months when I can't, right? It pops out, but I'm trying to protect him, but I am being pushed to the edge. And I don't want my daughter, when she's 12, going on the internet, reading this totally one-sided story. I'm up to here with it, and my plan is to change the law in the European Parliament, and I will do it. And I'm fed up with the specific portion of the media, some of them are still supportive, but a specific portion of them that are abusing me. I will investigate each and every one of those journalists.
All right, but again, this comes from the papers, so what do I know? And whether I know it's the truth or not. And I know you can't talk too much about the divorce case.
But everyone jumps on the bandwagon.
But they're
makes money out of my misery.
I know, but listen, I know that, and I know you're upset, and I know you're only human, which is what people are forgetting. But during the coverage of the divorce case, they've been saying that you know you want 50 million, and the reason it's
been
stalled...
offered nothing. Okay?
Okay.
Nothing. We go to court, nothing to do with that. We go to court over my daughter. I'm not allowed to talk about it because it's a criminal act if I talk about my daughter. You have no idea what's going on. These figures are made up, 100 million, 50 million, 20 million, this million. How do you know if I even want any money? I'm 1.5 million in debt in lawyers' fees. Right. And that's as much as I can say, or I go to jail for telling the truth. So I'm gagged at the moment because I'm not allowed to say a word while the media are fed this spin by a certain corner.
All right, but then again, and as I say, I only know it from the media, so what do I know? But one of the clauses apparently in this whole divorce thing is that you want to be able to sell your story. And then again,
it's
people...
rubbish!
Right, okay.
I can sell my story right now. I'm trying to protect Paul and our daughter. I am trying, and I'm being pushed to the edge.
Well, you really,
18 months of abuse, worse than a murder and paedophile. 4,400 abusive articles. Look what they're doing to the McCanns. The woman has lost, and the poor father have lost their daughter. What are we doing as a nation? What are we doing? Persecuting a woman that is devastated behind closed doors and trying to hold it together as I have for 18 months. What did the paparazzi do to Diana? They chased her and they killed her. Never mind all these other stories. That is what we are doing as a nation, buying these newspapers. Every time you buy one of those, you contribute to it. So force a change, that responsible journalism. You know, Rupert Murdoch, when he bought that newspaper, is quoted as saying, I can't believe how easy it was to get in the British media. I can't believe it, and I promise you, I will always give you honest and straightforward journalism. Nothing like it.
All right. Well, listen, and I know you're upset, and I can understand
And they
why.
will go for me tomorrow, and they'll go, she's crazy, and she's this, and she's that. Go for it, because I will do even more.
All right. Well, listen, hopefully you'll stay here for a bit more as well, because we've got to go to a break now.
I'm sorry I got upset,
No,
but I'm
well,
so up to here. Can you imagine being persecuted for that long?
Well, I can't.
Yeah.
But we'll find out more about it, after the break, which we're going to now. Heather's going to be back right after this. Hello again. I don't know what you think when you hear the name Heather Mills, but from how the media has portrayed Heather, I think a lot of us would think she's hard, she's gold digger, she married a Beatle just for the fame it would bring her, does TV shows like Dancing with the Stars to get more attention. And
think of one thing, since you've known me, since I came here 14 years, one thing that I've done that hasn't been for charity. 80% of my money goes to charity. And that's why people want to have a go at me. Because they think, well, that can't be possible. Why would anyone do that? What's the matter with her? Why doesn't she just go and have lunch? So they try and make up articles saying she's gone and spent $1 million of Paul's money, these crazy things. And all I'd done is gone to see my friend in the hairdressers, because they had the logo Giorgio Armani behind, no shopping bags in my hand. Heather's gone on a huge shopping spree. I would never buy from designer stores except Stella's, because they use fur.
And actually stop some of this now. And this I mean, you can't
I'm not
take on
fighting
the
the
whole
press.
can
I'm
you?
going to the European Parliament. I'm going to change the law like I did with a group of like-minded people, where they have to have responsible journalism. They've pushed so many people over the edge, extraordinary people that have written to me. Look at Hillsborough, look at them saying they looted the pockets of the dead bodies. When they're trying to find IDs to find out who they are, they urinated, you know, all over them.
But you're taking on such a massive battle
But
here
what do
at
you
such a
do?
stressful time.
I live in a prison. I live in a prison, right? I have to fight back, otherwise I'll go insane.
All right, and you've got pictures of the sort of stuff you have to go through every day, don't you, with the paparazzi?
That's the only reason I've filmed.
And there you are in Brighton. And what's going on here, Heather?
Basically, this is over a period of like 6 months. They follow me all the time. And, you know, they're trying to hack down my fence, saying, here he goes, this guy, tried to hack down my fence. And they're following me persistently, so I had to let my daughter go out with my friend, and I went out another way. And they've got no licenses. One of the guys in this, the one that I just had convicted for assault, which they thought I wouldn't follow through to the end, he had 132 convictions. 132 convictions, and he's hired with no licence. They have to be licensed. Because how do I know when someone's sitting outside my house they're a stalker or not?
So listen, you say your life's like living in a prison.
It is living in a prison. I am living in a... The only respite that I got was going to America. I did Dancing with the Stars because our charity has been so damaged, we needed the money. You know, I was the only person on the show that gave the money to the charity, and then they want to turn that into something awful, like Get Lost Mucker, says the Sun.
I know.
You know,
Heather's got a whole file here of cuttings that
I've
she's
got
kept.
4,000 mucker cha-cha. You're calling me mucker for doing glamour modelling. Do you know what I mean? And they say it's hardcore porn.
Well, listen, you talk about the USA there, and you say that was the only light in a very,
That was
very
the
small
only
tunnel.
light that I had.
Would you consider leaving the country, or can you not do
I
that?
would live in America in 2 seconds, but I keep my daughter here to be close to her father. I compromise everything. I do. You cannot imagine what I've done to compromise things.
And do you honestly, I mean, you came in here and said you fear for your life and for Beatrice's
The police came
life.
round, and this is why I'm speaking about this now, and I have a box of evidence that is going to a certain person should anything happen to me. So if you top me off, it's still going to go to that certain person, and the truth will come out. There is such a fear from a certain party of the truth coming out that lots of things have been put out and done. So the police came around and they said, you have serious death threats from an underground movement. And I was like, you're joking? And they said, no, they're serious. Here's the 999 number. I never rang the 999 number. I always rang the 08 if there was a 45 number. And then the press write, you know, Heather's crying wolf with 999 calls. The police came to me to tell me I had death threats and that I had to be careful. That means my daughter's life is at risk because she's with me all the time. Could I get security? No. Did I have to go to the bank and borrow it? Yes. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting that I'm put. Who created those death threats? The media, a certain part of the tabloid media, created such a hate campaign against me that they put my life and my daughter's life at risk. And that's why I considered killing myself. Because I thought, if I'm dead, she's safe and she can be with her father. And that is the truth. That's the truth.
All right, Heather.
I'm sick of it.
All right, we'll leave it there. We can see how sick of it you are. I mean, you're really at
And
the
I've
edge
got
of...
nothing to lose.
And have you got friends who are helping you? I mean, how are you getting
I
through
have.
this?
I have 300 friends come to my daughter's party. They are biting their tongues not to talk because they're so loyal. Even a journalist said to my publicist, her friends are so loyal, we can't even get them to say a word. Whereas other people's so-called friends are putting stuff out left, right and centre.
Well, thanks for coming in. I hope you feel a bit better now you've got all that off your chest.
I do, and I just hope everyone goes on to uk.com and starts taking responsibility for what we're going to feed our children for the next 20 years. We don't want them to live in a celebrity culture unless that celebrity is going to be used to make a difference in life on the finite amount of seconds we have left on this planet.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in, and we'll see you soon in happier
Thank you,
times, I
Fiona.
hope. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, 29 minutes past.